order to really make an impact, you got to tap into what that natural strength is for you. Too many people are trying to be somebody else because they've never learned what was great within themselves. They haven't discovered it yet. You know, you didn't need a huge production to make it amazing, to make it impactful, to fulfill your assignment.
Right.
Yeah, bro. We just gotta and that's what you're doing, bro. You're showing the kids and the world how to find that within themselves.
Right.
It's fire, bro.
Yeah, nah.
That's when I learned that I am a futuristic thinker.
Yeah, I am
And
too.
so because of that, the downside, like you said, is sometimes I don't learn from my mistakes of the past, or I don't reflect on even the wins from the past. I'm always constantly thinking about the next
What's
thing.
next?
So
The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said you're up and I'm up. Y'all now tuned in to the Grind Hard Dream Big Show. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I got a special guest in the building. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, man.
hey, what's good? My name's Hyydn, and hey, bro, I'm just really glad to be here, man.
Man, the
This is a
sun
blessing.
is shining, and
That
so
it
should
is.
you,
That
man.
it
For
is.
real,
That it
us
is. Yes,
in this
sir.
space, man, for sure. So, for the people that don't know, what was your upbringing like? You know, your childhood, things like
True.
that, man.
Bro, I grew up in Largo, Maryland, PG County, bro, all day. Never really, you know what I'm saying, left this area. I've been here my whole life, you know what I'm saying? And my upbringing was dope. You know what I mean? I got both my parents are Jamaican, so I come from that kind of Caribbean background.
Okay.
Heavy focus on school and grades, and but I had some reign to be creative, but also it was very structured household when it comes to making sure we were in church multiple times a week. You know what I mean, and all of that. Um, so yeah, bro, it was interesting. You know what I mean, but a lot of good times, good memories. And all my family's still in the area, so I talk to
Man,
them all
that's
the time.
love.
Yeah,
That's
so,
love, man. That's
yeah.
love. I'm gonna clap it up for that. That's
Yeah,
love, bro.
family.
Yeah, family for sure.
Indeed.
So, did you have any like hobbies, like as a kid? Because
Oh,
I know,
for
like,
sure.
oh, it was the sports, it was this, it was that. Like,
True,
what was some of those hobbies like for you?
bro. Like when I started, I was just an art type kid, so I used to draw a lot and write poems and stuff like that. And it wasn't. I played sports here and there, but I didn't really get heavy into sports till I was like probably like 9, 10. Started playing basketball, and once I got into basketball, bro, that was like my main sport. You know what I'm saying? And I probably started doing music. I always did music, singing for like choirs and stuff when I was as young as like 5. But started writing songs when I was like 10. And then yeah, it was on to the races from there, bro.
Nah, that's what's up, man. That's
Yeah.
fire. I think, if I were to piggyback, you know what I'm saying, for me, I went to Catholic school and then I went to
True.
private. Then I went to Catholic school, private school, whatever you want to call it. Then made the
Oh,
transition
wow.
to public school. So I grew up in Hyattsville.
True.
Now I'm saying PG Plaza. Now it's the mall at Prince George's. Times are fly.
Facts.
Then after that, spend time, like I said, moved to Glenarden.
Okay.
And like I said, graduated from Charles Herbert Flowers. Now I'm
True.
saying,
Okay.
from there, transitioned to Bowie State University. So that upbringing for me, like I said, my mother side of the family American, father side of the family Haitian.
Ooh.
So like some Caribbean. Yeah, I just to PC Aisha. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Pop, shout out to everybody on this
Facts,
side.
facts,
For
facts.
sure. And for me, I would
Great.
definitely love reading and writing. I felt like that was always a connection for
Yeah,
me.
reading.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that sports was organizational for me. So it's like
True.
I ain't never have no dreams about being in the NBA or like
True.
NFL, but I can write about it though.
Right.
Things like that. I just loved journalism, and I think that was my outlet. So
Wow.
as you transition, right? Because I feel like, okay, as you a kid now, it's high school a little bit, then you graduate from that.
Facts.
How could you say, school in that surrounding for you as you grew up, like the value of it, like how do you feel
True.
about that?
School is, man, that's interesting, bro. especially now because I'm like watching my kids in school now. So I'm seeing how they react to school. It just makes me think about what school was like. School was interesting. I had trouble. I didn't have trouble in school. For me, you know, I just really value grades. I just expected like, yo, as long as I get A's, like I'm succeeding. You know what I mean? So my whole thing was like getting A's in school for my parents' sake. You know what I mean? If I get A's, then I got freedom. And if I don't do well in school, then those freedoms get taken away. So that was kind of my focus. I didn't really value the education that I was getting from school at the time. You know what I mean? Till I got a little older, I would say. Till I got a little older. But school played a really strong part in like the relationships that I built, and it taught me a lot about myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like a church kid, so I always felt I didn't really fit in with everybody else. Everybody was talking about songs on the radio. I had never heard them joints. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, I was like, oh, I think I heard that song in the barbershop. Like, sing that to me. So people would tell me what the songs were and stuff. I wasn't hip to like the flyest gear or nothing. So, you know what I mean? I always felt like an outcast in school because of all of that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say school was funny for me because of those like social things. But then it taught me to like be okay with being myself. You know what I'm saying? And but I wouldn't have been doing music the way that I do it if it wasn't for school.
For sure.
For sure, bro.
Because I think what happens is it brings that structure. It brings that discipline. It's like those little things. It's like, I heard this person see this. And it's like, oh, so you can listen to understand as opposed to reply. Like these little things that you see that show up.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, okay, this is my craft. And oh, yeah, I can own in on it because you gave me like a blueprint, the ABC before the XYZ. Now I can see it.
Yeah, exactly. Got some blueprints from that. Yeah, exactly, bro. Learning how to deal with like the social stuff. And then even like my teacher, bro. I had a music teacher who every year we would do like a concert at the end of the year. And that's how I learned like a lot of music that wasn't gospel. That's how I learned about like a bunch of classic music from like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, like all the way through because of this concert we would do. That's how I learned who Janet Jackson was. That's how I learned who you know what I'm saying, Prince was, and like all these like big name Marvin Gaye and stuff like that. And then they would have a couple raps in the joint.
Right.
So I was like, all right, well, let me try to do the rap. Bro, every time I tried, I would always get beat out. Like they would always choose somebody else to do the joint, to do the rap parts. So I was like, and at that point, by the time I was like 10, I was like, yo, I want to kind of try out this hip hop thing. I would hear it, I would see it, and I was like, I think this is something that is like pulling me. I'm gravitating to this, you know. And I was already writing, but I never really got that opportunity until in my 6th grade year, right before the end of school, there was an assignment to write like an essay about your entire elementary school experience.
That's fire.
And they said you can write it or you can write a poem. So I said, not only am I gonna write a poem, I'm gonna write a rap about it. I'm gonna write some bars.
Right.
So I wrote a whole, you know what I'm saying, some bars about my whole elementary school experience, was dropping names of teachers in the joint, different experiences I had, different classes. And I turned it in. And then my 6th grade teacher, she called me up to the front of the class and made me read it in front of everybody.
That's fire, man. And I think, see, I feel like that's so dope because that's a creative way to express yourself. And I be feeling like, yo, working with kids, like they just need that push, that creative way to do it. Like, okay, you don't have to do it this way. You can do it this way. And it's acceptable. You know what I'm saying? Bro, because that's so I ain't gonna lie, like now in 2025, it's like, bro, okay, they done came out of virtual learning and all this. And it's like, yo, we got to adapt on how they learn. They're learning how to learn. And they're trying to find a creative way to do so. It's like, all right, man, I don't feel like, I mean, it's no knock to writing a paper, but if you sat there and said, okay, I can write a rap about it, say less.
Right. I'm actually into, right?
I'm into it. So
and that's true, bro, because that's the thing I've learned. Everybody learns differently.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And people need different ways to express themselves, bro. It's just, that's what school should be. And that's what it was for me. It gave me that opportunity to figure out who I was and to have those outlets. And I think more kids need that, bro. Cause yeah, that's key, man.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
key.
So as you're pivoting and transitioning, right? Because I know you sat there and said you kind of found music at 10, right? And
Well,
then
now music, I was
like
yeah,
that whole notion of it, right? And getting the glimpse, because I feel like the earlier the glimpse, the bigger the picture,
yeah,
right?
true. That's
So you getting it at an early age, basically embedded into it. When did you feel like this was my I'm gonna take a serious moment, and the
yeah,
rest is the rest? Because I know, even for like myself, like with music, I love it because I feel like it was always a connection. And then of course you have a reinvention piece in a sense,
yeah,
or as you're continuing to learn. When was that moment where you felt like, okay, you know what, I'm serious, I'm all in with this?
yeah, bro. So I don't can't remember like my whole life. I always had like this feeling like, okay, I'm supposed to be a leader. And my dad kind of put that in me. I was the oldest kid, and I just had that thought like, whatever I'm gonna do, like I'm gonna be a leader in some sort of space. And I wasn't sure what it was. When I was like 7, I thought it was gonna be comic books. I was like writing comic books, and I would have my friends draw, and I was like, this is gonna be my thing. And but when I knew that it was the music, was right after that. I read that essay in front of my class, and everybody lost it, and I was like, wow, these are people that, like I said, I was always an outcast, and now all of a sudden I got all this affirmation.
Right.
So as a kid, I was like, I need to be doing this. And then she told me to read it for the graduation.
That's
So I
fire.
read it for the sixth grade graduation. Same reaction. So after that, I was like, I'm going to be a rapper for real. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And of course, everybody was like, no, you're not. Like, you're not cool enough to be a rapper. You don't dress like a rapper. You don't sound like a rapper. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even listen to music. You don't even know none of the songs. So I had to learn all of that as I went. But literally from then on, like, my mind just went to a place of like constant creativity. Like, I'm always coming up with ideas. And it's been like that since, bro. Since I was 11.
That's fire, bro.
Since I was 11.
And kudos to you for that, because I think that what that does is it gives you a stage, right? And then on
Yeah.
top of having the stage is knowing what to do when you get on the stage, and
Well,
then building that confidence, which I feel like has always been embedded. So I
yeah.
guess with that, like the power of networking and community, man, I think that those are two vital things that can help an individual become successful, as we all know.
Facts.
So how has those two things played a factor in this whole journey, man?
Is that like networking and
Yeah,
community?
yeah, networking and community, man.
Yo, networking and community, bro, is everything, bro. Somebody said this. It said business is relationships. When you have a business, that's what it is. You're creating relationships with people. That's a business. And I didn't understand that for so long. Like I said, I was so used to being isolated and being alone that I would write songs, produce all the beats, record all in my bedroom, burn the CDs in my bedroom. You know what I'm saying? So it was literally just me. And but then God would put me in places, bro, where one of my best friends, turns out he has a studio in his basement. My first time really recording was with a friend from my basketball team. You know what I mean? Meeting certain people in high school that taught me certain things, going to college and learning different things with different people, realizing, wait a minute, I don't have to do everything by myself, nor am I supposed to. You know what I mean? If I was supposed to do everything by myself, there wouldn't be 8 billion people in the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? The community is the business. That's the key. And I think that's what transitioned me from being an artist to an entrepreneur is the community, you know?
That's dope.
Using what I do and not using what I do to make myself better than anyone else, but literally planting it as a seed. Like, this is my gift. You have a gift. You know what I'm saying? He has a gift. She has a gift. Let's put our gifts together to make great things.
Right.
You know?
And I like how you just sat there and said that. I like how you said that, because I believe that, networking has been extremely vital for myself. Like starting the podcast, literally, I'm like, okay, July 5th, 2020, I started doing motivational videos.
Wow.
I'm working with one of my homies, and I'm working, and he's like, yo, now I'm saying if you try to do a podcast, now I'm saying I got a space. So I'm like, yo, shout out to Vegan, because that's my guy. He's the one who kind of like put the battery in my back. He's like, nah, I know a dude. Boom. So
Right.
we go ahead. Now I'm saying November 6th, 2020, I do an episode, no script, no nothing. I just go in
Wow.
that joint. One of my homies, like I said, he was selling
crazy.
natural juices. And like I said, now I'm saying we sat down, we had a conversation, and boom. They're like, yo, now I'm saying you ain't had no script, you ain't had no nothing. You just naturally, like it just naturally flowed. One episode led to the next. I don't even know how many episodes I got.
That's crazy.
Literally. But the power of
Bro.
networking from having different people on there,
Yeah.
from business owners to community leaders or people that want to advocate. The reason why I made the podcast is because when I watched the news, I didn't see like positive things happening.
Facts.
I just seen all negativity, somebody getting shot, robbery, you know, minorities not being treated right,
Facts.
equity, all these other things. It's like, okay, where are the positive stories at?
Right.
Because there's dope people doing dope things.
Absolutely.
And they need to be highlighted. And for me, it just was natural. You know, going to Bowie State, graduating from there, getting my degree in broadcast journalism, I felt like it was just like, it was already written.
Bro.
And my professor, he's like, yeah, man, you're going to be helping the youth one day. I laughed. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? He's like, you going to be the one? Trust and believe. You're going to be the one. And ever since 2019, working with kids, man, it ain't feel like no work.
Right.
It didn't feel like no work. And then I sat there, I was like, man, I work with kids now. He like, now walk in that room like God sends you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so
right.
it's an assignment for me, man. And it's a ball of joy to get to build relationships and understand them.
Yeah.
You know, it's unconventional for me. And I think that because it's unconventional, I believe that that's why they relate. They relate because it's like, yo, he's real. Oh, he's going to share this? Like, really? And it's being real with them and sharing those experiences and letting them know, like, yo, that thought, I knew what that used to be like. I don't want you to do that.
Yeah.
And mentoring them and showing them the way, man. So
Facts.
that's what it's been like.
Man. That's really inspiring and deep, bro. A man's gift will make room for him, bro. You know? And you said it's natural because you were created that way, right? And you tapped into something. It's like your natural superpower. You know? I feel like when you watch Marvel or DC, you watch these superheroes, everybody has strengths and weaknesses, natural strengths. You know what I mean? And in order to really make an impact, you got to tap into what that natural strength is for you. Too many people are trying to be somebody else because they've never learned what was great within themselves. They haven't discovered it yet. But once you discover what's great within you, you can, like you said, bro, walk in with no script.
Yeah.
I remember when you were making motivational videos just with your phone.
Yeah.
And it was impactful, it was powerful because you were being authentic.
Right.
You know? You didn't need a huge production to make it amazing, to make it impactful, to fulfill your assignment.
Right.
Yeah, bro. We just gotta and that's what you're doing, bro. You're showing the kids and the world how to find that within themselves.
Right.
It's fire, bro.
Yeah, nah, for sure. Nah,
fire.
literally, and it's not an easy thing to do. However, just being authentic and embracing that to me has been like, yeah. So, you know, we also have a lot in common. Like I said, we go to Zion, you know what I'm saying? And it's a you know, I think for me personally, probably one of the most transparent churches I've ever been to in life. I can firmly say that. Shout out Pastor Battle, man, Lady Vicky, every leader in that building. Of course, you know, Pastor Randy and Off Script as well, being a part of that. I had told him personally, man, like that was one of the best, if not most important spiritual investments I made in my life. And the reason why I say that, man, is because I remember sermon after sermon, and I would see the table, and I would walk away from it or not even know if it was for me. And then I don't know, I can't remember what month it was, but it was a sermon that literally hit home. It was like, what are you running from? So I literally, after service, I'm like, all right, bet. I went and I signed up. And I believe since September of 2023, it'll be going on close to 2 years now, serving with All Script. When I mean to tell you, barely missing a Sunday, enjoying the time to connect with the middle schoolers and the high schoolers and just showing them who God is and just showing up for them, man, it's been very, very fruitful. And I
Facts.
think that that was something that God was telling me, like, yo, you have a story. You are important, but
Yep.
most importantly, you're qualified.
Right.
So,
That's deep right
yeah,
there.
literally knowing that you're qualified.
Mhm.
So with Zion, what I
Mhm.
appreciate about it is like it's not only the sermons, it's the people. Like you can walk in there and be yourself. You could wear jeans, if you wanted to. You could wear snapbacks, whatever. You could wear a suit. Like you could come as you are, literally, and
Facts.
they're going to love you without the shame.
Facts.
Literally. Know what
Oh,
I'm
we
saying?
can talk
Like,
about that all day. Yeah, bruh. I was at a point where, and like I said, I grew up in church, bro, and I was forced to go,
wow.
But I got to the point where once I, you know, had my own space and my own bread, I was like, I'm not going. You know
Wow.
what I'm saying? I'm not going. I don't want to.
Gotcha.
I'd rather do other things on Sundays. You know what I mean? And going to Zion, bro. Shout out my pops. Actually, it's funny enough because he invited me, and going and the transparency, bro. It was so revolutionary at the time to me, bro. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. These people are accepting me for who I am.
Yes.
And they are not trying to appear more righteous than they are.
Right. Exactly.
They are keeping it 100 about where they at in life, and it's just I embraced it, bro. It's changed my life, man, and
Yeah.
the whole family. Like that's why I said shout out Pastor Battle and the whole team over there
Right.
because I literally wouldn't be where I am, who I am, if it wasn't for that community.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so important, man. Like for myself, like even with the events and what they do for men,
Facts.
I think it's so vital because we think that we walk alone. We think that we are prideful. We think that we're the only ones that have all these issues. It's like, well, once you
Facts.
get all of us in a room and we start sharing,
Yep.
it's like, whoa, you going through that too? Like, dang, bro, like you got anger issues. I got anger issues too. Oh, you dealing with lust or whatever. It's like, bro, wait, what? And it's like, yo,
Yeah.
dang, I ain't
Yeah.
started and
Facts.
becoming vulnerable, and
Event.
and it's just us. I feel like at that
Yeah.
particular time, we were trying to do things on our own,
Yes.
and we really needed God's direction to be like, okay, where are you driving this car? Because I'm
Facts.
tired of driving right now.
Facts.
Like, I want you to drive.
Yeah.
I be in the passenger. Just show me where I'm going.
Yeah.
I can trust everything else, but I need to trust you more than everything else.
Right.
I mean, so I think that was also vital as
Yeah.
well. And I learned so much about that because I think that, for us, it's like we try to control everything. And it's like, yo, reality, you can't
Cannot, bro.
because you're just going to keep stressing yourself out
Facts.
time and time again. So to have community, to a brother like yourself and others to like lean on,
Yeah.
to ask for the help.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, all right, man, you've been through this.
Facts.
And I ain't really experienced this. I'm going through it right now.
Right.
Now I'm saying that look like, and things like that. So, like I said, and even telling you, it's like, okay, I'm at a particular point now where, time is important and you're always learning. Of course, if you want to be in, like have healthy relationships, understand how to treat people, you want to surround yourself with positive people
Yep.
that are doing dope things.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? The whole notion of you are who you hang around is important.
Yeah.
And people have to understand that too.
It is so important, bro. Who you are, who you hang around, bro. That's deep, man. What you said too about control and men feeling like we have to do everything by ourselves.
Yeah.
It's so deep. I think it's human. I think it's cultural. I think it's just it speaks a lot to where we are as men and like what we feel like we have to be as men. I think a lot of men think that being a man requires a lot more than it really does.
Right.
And it ends up a lot of men end up being burnt out, bro.
Yeah.
End up being burnt out or not able to be the best version of themselves.
Right.
Because, they're trying to achieve this idea of what it means to be the perfect man or that version of themselves by themselves.
Yeah.
And then we're looking around at other dudes. We think that these other men have it together. And, whether they're famous or they're rich or whatever it is, we trying to become. And we looking at them like, and then it makes us feel worse about ourselves, and you know, it manifests that greatness within us. At that point, it manifests in these negative ways, violence or anger or fear or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So that's deep what you said, bro.
Yeah, and it's because I think there's power of vulnerability and just realizing like, okay, boom. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's power in that, and it's just power in being authentic. What has really resonated with me a lot is that God does not bless who you pretend to be. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I'm dealing with X, Y, Z. You already know what I'm dealing with. Or, yo, is this situation? And the Bible literally says, cast all your burdens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all your worries, all your doubts, whatever, you cast it all.
Yeah.
So, you know, even for myself, I'm like, I'm in a position now where, like, the purpose, the gift that he's given me is bigger than myself. And I need, like, the reassurance and the confirmation and the validation is coming from him. It's not coming from others. It may come through other people that just to be like, hey, yo, Jay, I just need you to know that you are dope. Like, I need that reminder. You know what I mean? Or whatever. But then it's like, at the same time, just blocking out the unnecessary noise and locking in on what you need to lock in on. So
that's so true.
I would say, like, with the space that you're in, man, because, you know, some people could look at you and be like, yo, you know, he's rapping, he's performing this Sunday, he's doing this thing. I guess, you know, of course, knowing your why, of course, your family and everything like that.
Facts.
But what really keeps you, like, rooted and focused on it so much? Because, like I said, when I see you in a happy space. I don't even look at, oh, yeah, he's performing. You feel what I'm saying?
True.
I just feel like, okay, it's a happy space for him. Like, he's meant to be there. Know what I mean? So because of that and you're supposed to be there,
Facts.
It's like a happy space for you. How, like, what goes through the mind? Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, that's a big deal. Like, oh, it's a lot of people or whatever.
Right.
But I think also it's like God is your first nature and that comes second nature to you. So, like, can you elaborate on kind of that and what, you know, like on the outside looking in? Because I know a lot of people probably be like, oh, that you see.
That's deep, bro. Man, yeah, you know, I think when we come into our gifts, it starts off in an immature phase. You know what I mean? So for me, like when I started off, I was trying to rap and looking at rappers who were like famous or whatever. That was like kind of my focus. You know what I'm saying? But as I grew, I started to realize like, all right, this is a gift. You know what I'm saying? That's been given to me. This is an assignment that's been given to me. This isn't something for me to just do for myself. Like I'm doing this for other people. You know what I mean? I'm doing this for God. So that's the key. Like I think that's the key for me, really, bro. The only way I've been able to handle the pressures and the burdens of just life and working and having a family and all of these things, bro, is just by literally surrendering my ego and just saying, yo, I'm just going to do what's best for God and let it flow, man. So that's it, bro. That's the reason it's become second nature, because the more I do it, the more I'm able to tap into that part of myself that says, yo, that's not even me at that point. It's God, bro. It's just like, yo, let yourself go, bro. Don't worry about what people think about you, bro, because that's a prison that you put yourself in.
Nah, for sure.
I mean? Yeah,
and I tell myself that sometimes too. It's just like, yo, like your gifts are not for you; they're for others.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, like you were talking about like superheroes earlier, right?
Facts.
You know, I watch Marvel, I watch DC,
yeah,
and the person that I always think about the most, really, and who's my favorite superhero, and he's so underrated because I don't feel like he gets the credit he deserves, but he has the most important stone, Doctor Strange, because we all have that moment where it's like, yo, if I went back in time, if I just did this different, I don't know what this would have been.
Yeah.
But I value Doctor Strange so much because he valued time, regardless of where he was at, you know. And I think that for me, it's just like, as I look at it, I'm like, yeah, Doctor Strange is that person for me, because I value time and I understand like it's the experience that I want people to understand. Like, okay, how you make people feel, that's important. Creating the experience, creating that atmosphere, because their environment, we don't know. Yeah. It can be in, you know, the hood. They can be in the upper echelon or whatever, but how you make them feel, that's everything. Because
Yeah.
they're gonna go back and they be like, man, this was a dope experience. This was, you know, like, oh my gosh, like I want to experience this again. And that's the feeling that, you know, I want to create. And, you know, like I'm letting God use me. And I tell people, like, if God can use me, he can use you too.
Facts.
Because there was plenty of times where I've discounted myself, where I feel like, man, okay, you know what?
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Again. You know what I'm saying? And we all
Yo.
fall short of his glory. And we
Absolutely.
do. But
Yeah.
it's like you can't beat yourself up so many times where it's like, yo, you got to get back up and keep walking.
Facts.
You got to.
You got to, bro. That's the other part that's so important about community is keeping you going. You know, I mean, I just think about it like, imagine you are in, you know, ancient times, bro, and you're on a hunting expedition, and it's just you, and you got to travel miles to go hunting. I don't know, whatever, buffalo for your family, bro. I mean, it's just you, bro. You don't know what you're gonna run into. You could run into a pack of wolves, bruh. You could break your ankle while you out there. You could sustain some injuries. You gotta try to find a way to handle all this by yourself. That's a lot of men. That's a lot of men trying to handle everything by themselves, going on this expedition, this assignment. They know it's their assignment. They feel like, yo, God's telling me to do this. I'm good at this. This is natural for me. But they're going at it alone, bruh.
Right.
I mean, versus if you going on that hunting expedition, but you got like 3 or 4 people with you that are solid.
Yeah. And
Something happened to you, they got your back.
Yeah.
You get tired, they motivating you. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. And that's what I always look at. Like I look at community and they continue to motivate me. So just building a healthy community and understanding like it's bigger than myself. I got people that are rooting on me, rooting for me, depending on me, and wanting me to win. Know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, I want to win just as bad too, so we're gonna win together. You know, that's the biggest thing. So that's
a big thing.
Yeah, facts. And so as you're doing this though, bro, like what is the self-care like for you? Because I know for a fact, like, it'd be so hard. It's like, dog, like, how do you find the time? How do we define self-care? Because it's like, bro, we so caught up in
bro.
create. And we do make time for tapping in with the creator, which we do. But then it's like, yo, what is the self-care like?
Bro, that used to be that was such a shortcoming for me, bro, for so many years. When you are in create mode and you're not taking care of yourself, bro, it's gonna manifest itself in some sort of way, you know, because you're not giving yourself the love that you need. You're just pouring all the time. So it means you're working with an empty cup. And first of all, shouts out to my wife, bro, Portia. Shouts out to my kids, man.
Shout out to the family.
Like the family, bro. The family. That's the community. That's the first community for me, bro. And you know, when I was in create mode and not taking care of myself, you know, my family wouldn't get the best version of myself. I'm pouring out for all these people, for the community. I'm pouring out into the music, but then I come home and what do I have left? You know what I'm saying? So self-care has become so important, bro. It is literally an essential to me. You know what I'm saying? It's literally a part of the business.
Got you.
The way I see it. It's a part of the business, bro. Like you're not gonna get into your car without making sure you got enough gas.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And if we wanna go somewhere, we gotta make sure that we're full, that we have what we need, that we fueled up.
For sure, bro.
I just dropped a song called Recharge, actually, bro, and that's what it's about, man. That's exactly what it's about, bro. That's about running on fumes, man. Like, make sure you take that time to take care of yourself, because that's the only way people deserve the best version of you, of your product. You know what I'm saying? So,
I agree. Yeah. So, with all that, right, like, for me, I would definitely say, like, definitely taking walks and being better with that. You know what I'm saying? Without the phone and everything like that. Just trying to, you know, stay diligent, stay mindful.
Without the phone, that's what you
bro. Yeah. Like for me, I can definitely say like without the phone is fire. And like just decompressing. Like telling yourself that you're socially unavailable. Because that time that you spend is so vital. Like I start my day. I'll start my day by waking up, doing my devotional, throwing on my workout clothes and taking a walk early in the morning or whatever,
Facts.
or jogging or running. And then I
Yeah.
have my step app on me. I'll see how many steps I took, but I'm not calling nobody. I'm
Yeah.
just like locked in. I'm really just showing gratitude because at the end of the day, it's another day. It's another day to be bigger, better, wiser, stronger than the day before. And then telling yourself that your past has nothing new to say. So everything else is like literally behind you.
Yeah.
And then celebrating yourself. How far you done came. Like for me, I work. Oh yeah, I'm thinking about the next thing. Like,
Facts.
bro, if you don't sit there and celebrate what you just sat there and did today, that's powerful.
Yo.
You know what I'm saying? That event, that was powerful. That song, that was powerful. That performance or whatever you did, that was powerful. You gave yourself, you prepared yourself and showed up. Everything like
Facts.
that was powerful, bro. So it's like celebrating yourself. And I got so caught up on the next thing and being so futuristic that I didn't take the time to literally celebrate it. And now I'm like,
Yep.
all right, bet I'm gonna celebrate it.
Futuristic. That's dope. Yeah, I learned about that about myself actually at Zion. There was a class about emotional spirituality or something like that.
Wow.
And that's when I learned that I am a futuristic thinker.
Yeah. I am
And
too.
so because of that, the downside, like you said, is sometimes I don't learn from my mistakes of the past, or I don't reflect on even the wins from the past. I'm always constantly thinking about the next
What's
thing.
next?
So I would literally, have a big show coming up, and I'm stressed about the show. And then I do the show, and it's great. But the
Right.
next day, I'm not even thinking about the show. I'm thinking about
What's
what
next?
I'm about to do next.
Right.
How is it?
It's crazy because I've been there and down there,
Right.
but it's like, but you know what? I think it's like God probably looking at you like, we've been here before. So what
Right.
is you stressing about?
Right.
Like, what are you worried about?
Right.
It's another stage. It's another place.
Yep.
It's expanding territory, but you've been there before.
You've been
So what are we tripping about?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We want everything to be perfect. No, he just needs you to show up.
Yeah.
You show up, he gonna do the rest.
Yeah.
Because it's his gift that he gave you.
Right.
He ain't asking for it back.
Nah.
He not. He gave it to you. So it's like, hey, come on, bro. Like, you better act like you know. Like,
Yeah,
come
you
on.
better act
So
like
I
you
think
know.
that's the thing is, yeah.
That's true, bro. That's so true. I heard that Pele used to do this. He used to visualize before a game. The soccer player Pele, he would envision like his best moments from the past. You know what I mean? He would visualize and like think about the past successes that he had. That was so deep to me. That's something that I incorporated now, and I think that's just so important. Like just like you said, bro, you got to take time to reflect on your W's. So that way, when the next time you coming up on an opportunity or a challenge, you can remember, oh, I've done this before.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Yeah.
Man, heavy conversation, bro. Heavy conversation. But what is some, I guess, motivation for the community, for people that one, want to find out who God is, because I feel like that's definitely important.
Yes.
And then two, just to, be motivated and chase your dreams. Like, what would you tell those people, man?
I would tell people to take some time away from your phone. All right. Away from TV, video games, the news. Like, take time away from distractions. Give yourself at least 30 minutes and just write down like what's coming to your mind. Think about what you used to love to do when you were a child, before you cared about being powerful or being successful or being famous or any of that. What were the things that you love to do? And think about what is something that you feel like you could change, something that you see in the world that you would want to change. And that connection between what you love, what you're good at, and what the world needs, that's where you find a divine purpose, bro.
That's love.
And I would tell people to tap into that, because once you do that, then, like you said, you're in a flow of joy. You're in a joyful flow state. You know what I mean? You're doing things, connecting with the right people. You're helping people and people are helping you. It's just a dope flow to be in. But it takes that space, like you said, every morning when you wake up, bro, you spending that time for yourself to connect with God and to think about what you're supposed to do and what you want to do and all of that. Before I was doing that, most people don't do that. They just wake up and it's on to the races. And then they go to sleep thinking about what they got to do the next day.
Yeah.
And if you living like that, it's going to be really hard for you to be purposeful and intentional about how you're living your life. So
yeah, for sure.
That would be my motivation, man.
I just tell people, man, hold on to your imagination.
That's so
the
true.
world is so busy, steadfast, everything like that.
Yeah.
Those ideas, it's never too late to be the person that you truly want to become, I think.
Yeah.
So if I'm contemplating this idea, I don't feel like I'm qualified, I don't feel like I'm good enough, I'm telling you that you are.
Yep.
And that, you know, literally like walk into your purpose. One step leads to another, and Rome wasn't built in a day.
Facts.
Like, it took time. So
Facts.
just take your time and be great. Like, be grateful for who you are. Give yourself extended grace, because everybody needs grace.
Yeah.
Myself, I need grace. I know we all need grace.
We all need grace.
So just understanding that, and just know that you are appreciated and that you're loved, and that somebody is rooting for you, and somebody does want you to win. But you don't have to focus on when it is, because it's on the way. That's what I would say, bro.
That's it, bro. Yeah, man. You know, that's it, bro. Yeah, I love that, man. I believe everyone is a genius, bro. And we're in a kind of time where certain people are seen as geniuses based on how many followers they have or how much money they've made. But I truly believe everyone is a genius. Everyone is a superstar. And you just need to give yourself that grace, like you said, to know you are loved, you're appreciated, and there's something special inside you. You just got to find out what it is.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you pulling. I hope that y'all take a lot away from this conversation. For one, I want everybody to know, man, keep God in your life. That's the most important person that's going to be on your team, because he knows your business. He's in your corner. He's everywhere. Yes, even when you don't think he is everywhere. And then just building your community, and don't be afraid to share your gifts with the world, because they're meant to be shared.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, like I said, man, I appreciate you. I'm rooting for you. I'm super duper excited. Looking forward to everything that you're going to do, and how God is consistently using you, bro. It's definitely inspiration and motivation for, you know, myself to keep going, and others to keep going as well, because what you're doing literally is helping other people, and you are a voice for the voiceless, bro. Like, I will definitely truly say that. And like, you know, you don't know who's assigned to you, but you embrace every assignment and accept it. So thank you for saying yes, and thank you for walking in your ministry and your calling the way that you do, bro.
Appreciate you, bro.
That's love.
You too, man.
Vice versa, bro.
Absolutely.
You are. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream.
I said the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. Hey, the harder you grind, the bigger you the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. Hey, the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream.
I said the harder you grind, the bigger you dream, and we out.
Soundstripe. Soundstripe.